One of the most emotionally riveting ballads written during the 1960s was the song Walk On by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Written in 1963, the song was premiered by Dionne Warwick the following year, and I am going to compare or contrast the three most significant versions of the track recorded. In chronological order, starting with Dionne Warwick's version from 1964, the lovely ballad Walk On By.
If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by, walk on by.
That horn right there, that accents, that provides that contrast is one of the major earworms. I think the combination of that and the contrast of that horn part and her vocal on the chorus, the way her voice just rises on the words walk on by, were what really. I was 12 years old when I first became acquainted with the song. I was listening to the station KSGO in Portland, which would play golden oldies. It was how I first became acquainted with the era that I had missed, with the era 20 years to 25 years before my own time. Because I had gotten bored of Top 40 radio at that point, because they would just play the same songs every hour. And so I stumbled upon this station and I thought, if I start listening to this in 6 months, I'll be really versed in the music of the 50s and 60s, which was quite a step to take for a 12-year-old back in the mid-80s, back circa 1984, 85, when not many younger people knew about music that predated them. Whereas now, there's no excuse for a teenager today not to at least know the ABCs of Motown, of Stax, the British invasion, and whatnot. But because that information is widely available today, anyone could just YouTube it, Google it. This was one of a handful of albums I had to, or compilations at the time, because I was pretty much of a generalist. What more could I be? I was only 12 years old. I, limited allowances and such. The points of interest in this song, the initial ones that I just were describing, was what made me. First of all, I had to ask my mom, who sings that song? And I would sing it to her, and she would tell me, oh, that's Dionne Warwick. And I'd say, oh, I've got to go out and get that this weekend. I've got to get that. I've got to get her Greatest Hits album, And I was playing it a lot that summer, based on, and of course, and I became acquainted with the others, but more on my own experiences later on in the video.
Make believe that you don't see the tears, just let me grieve in private, 'cause each time I see you, I'll break down and cry.
Hear that dropout of the small pocket symphony arrangement? It suddenly just drops out to piano, and there's that slight wind kind of on the piano. It's done it's recorded in a different chamber, it seems. Limited, of course, to the production of 1964. So there's a quaintness to it, but there's that complete dropout, and now we just have piano under her sustained, as she hits the word cry.
Walk on by. Walk on.
Those girl group harmonies saying stop, stop, girl group as in early 60s, Marvelettes, Cookies, Shirelles type backing vocals.
Walk on by.
The way those strings swell up with more emphasis on the second chorus, and that the emotion she puts into the line, "I just can't get over losing you." We're revving up the emotion here.
If I see broken and blue, walk on by, walk on by. Foolish pride, that's all that I have left. So let me hide.
The transfer between A minor, D minor in this, and the notes that her vocals hit, that she hits with her voice, and the notes that she sustains, just the way all that comes together gives such emotional power to this part of the song.
The tears and the sadness you gave me when you said goodbye.
When she on that chorus part, it hits F major 7, and then it rises to B flat, major 7 perhaps, but the F major 7, that drop down to F major 7 is really intense.
Gone by. Stop. Walk on by. Stop. Walk on by.
This is like she's trying to get over a relationship, someone who's broken her heart, but she's like trying to be stoic about it. She's like just trying to turn her back and not show any emotion. She's in a way, she doesn't want the other person to win. It's like she's trying to be high-minded, and yet she's internally dealing with it. She's choosing to deal with it. It's a very powerful statement.
Stop. Walk on. Walk on by. Walk on by. Foolish pride.
That don't. Yeah, just beautiful arrangement. Just a master stroke. Set against her voice, the way it contrasts with her vocal melody.
That's all that I have left. So
D minor,
let me hide.
A minor.
The tears and the sadness you gave me when you said goodbye. Walk on by.
No. The way that piano accents the notes in the F major 7, and then it stays in those same notes when the underlying chord moves up to B flat.
Stop. Walk on by. Stop. Now you really gotta go, so walk on by. Make believe you never seen the tears cry. Now you really gotta go.
Wait, it's emphasizing it's emphasizing the E note in the F. La, no, bum bum, no, and then so it's playing in E, and then when that chord rises up to B flat, it's playing like an E over it. That's that's a tritone. That's wow.
Walk on by. Make believe you never seen the tears cry.
I love those
Now you really gotta go.
intensified ad libs at the end. I've got to say, a second period of my life where this song really, the two periods of my life where this song really moved me were when I really got into this song and her, bought her album and heard all the, and got really into the other songs of hers from this period. Like Make It Easy on Yourself, and such. The summer of 1985, when I was 12, and just before I even really became a serious collector. And again, 18 years later, when I was 30, and I was homeless in Los Angeles. I was living in my car, and this one afternoon I went into one of the dollar stores to buy something, and I heard the song on DMX, and it just took me back to when I was 12 years old, and I ended up crying in the aisle. I was 30, kind of at the height of my younger, like, I, I was going through kind of my androgynous phase. I was had my hair up, quiffed every day, headbands, mesh shirts, um, all these bright colors and everything, gummy bracelets and everything. I kind of had that younger androgynous uh, flamboyance and that kind of strut in my walk. Um, and so this a singer like Dionne Warwick could have is someone who I could have channeled at least in mannerism at that age. Um, and My mind was just wandering back to when I was 12 and how innocent I had been at age 12, and how carefree things may have been at age 12, because at 30 I was really dealing with the hard knocks of living, of survival. And I it just the I just ended up crying as I heard it in the dollar store, that at that really, which was a really dark point, one of the hardest times of my life, age 30, just struggling to survive, trying to land on my own 2 feet, dealing with the hard knocks of life in LA, which I had gone down thinking was just going to be a party city, and then learning that it was just a hellhole. And unless you've got it made, unless you know. Um, and Anyway, moving on to the next significant version of Walk On By. It had been recorded by a Canadian folk combo in 1966 and had been a big hit up there. But the song was given a radical restructuring in 1969 when it was covered by Stax Volt musician Isaac Hayes on his second album, the 1969 release Hot Buttered Soul. He stretched it out into a 12-minute slow groove psychedelic soul classic, as we are going to hear right now. Isaac Hayes with his version of Walk On By. Yeah, I can see the beginnings of like the Philly sound coming from this. Like Philly was just emerging around that time with the Delphonics, but those more lush, lavish production. We're moving into the where soul music would be going in the 1970s. That fuller, more maximalist sound, as opposed to the lean, more compact sounds of 60s Detroit. Hear that fuzz guitar? Yeah, I love that mixture of like psychedelic tinged elements and soul, which were just creeping in around this time. Um, like just as white rock was moving on from psychedelia and into like the more the more controlled, the more mannered sounds of the 70s, be it like hard rock, be it like the really like macho hard rock, or the more kind of airy fairy elements of symphonic rock. Soul was just starting to embrace the some of those fuzz tones and such from psychedelic music. Well, a few of them were. Isaac Hayes was, and Norman Whitfield was bringing it into some of his production work with like the Temptations and such. But the influence of psychedelic, of psych rock on soul music would really pick up more like in 1971 or about 72. I love how so far you can't even recognize what song this is. You would not recognize this as the Dionne Warwick ballad from 5 years earlier. Oh, and that guitar, his backing band on this release is the Bar-Kays, or the reconstituted Bar-Kays after most of that band had already been, the original lineup had been wiped out 2 years prior in the plane crash that also took the life of Otis Redding. It's going between the two speakers. It's like panning, yeah. Now, just now we might have some clue as to what the identity of this song, of the song behind this. What's turning out to be a very lengthy, like slow groove psych jam.
I start to cry each time we meet and walk on by, walk on by, make believe you don't see tears. You just believe in private, 'cause each time I see you, just gonna hit myself, think about I break down.
I like how he's kind of ad-libbing more the lines rather than singing them. Like he's letting those backup singers kind of take the more familiar aspects of the song and reiterating them while he just kind of talks kind of in between and around and just kind of does his own thing.
Oh baby, walk on by.
God, that guitar has a real buzz to it. It's just like almost like percolating, like fuzz.
I just can't get over losing you. So if I seem
Flute, that great touch right there.
broken in two, please walk on by.
Feel that organ, that the way it just swells up right there to add emphasis to this part.
Walk on by. Foolish pride. It's all that I have missed. Sure let me hide the tears and the sadness you gave me. I didn't ask for it, but you gave me when you said goodbye. Oh.
Yeah, some great ad-libbing here, and an interesting drop in the key right there. I just noticed.
Walk on by. Make believe you never see the
Oh, hear that oboe?
So do me a favor and walk on by.
He's taking liberty with the lyrics here.
Please, oh, walk on by.
Let's see if we can get more credits on the lineup of this track. We have got, the Bar-Kays is the backup band. Cred is the band, but Michael Tolles on guitar. Let's see. We don't have a string section listed. Isaac Hayes, of course, on vocals and keyboards. James Alexander on bass. Willie Hall on drums. I'm not sure about the arrangements and such.
I just can't get over losing you. So if I see broken into, walk on by, walk on by. Foolish pride, that's all that I have left. Sure let me hide the tears and the sadness you gave me. You put the hurt on me, you sucked it to the bottom.
You sucked it to me, mama. I'm wondering if I can find out who the backup vocalist is. I'm looking at like Discogs wiki. I'm not quite seeing that info.
You said goodbye. So please walk on by. Oh, mama, make believe you never seen a tear cry. So I'm begging you to walk on by. Oh, yeah. And make believe you never seen a tear cry. So I'm begging you to walk on by.
Now we're going into more like jam mode, lengthy, extended here. Just taking a certain part and kind of stretching it out, or a certain kind of locked groove almost that we're in right now. Same monochordal.
Make believe you never see the tears of cry. Oh, there's no dust in my eye. Smoke ain't making me cry, no. It's the hurt you put on me. I want you to see this man cry.
Probably just going to build up and build up and build up right here. As the strings are going no 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 no, you can, if you right from this channel is that guitar. It sometimes emerges, it sometimes gets buried, but it's playing these bits that goes like no 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 like that. Yeah. it's like kind of like echoing the guitar, like echoing under those strings and like going from this channel, this speaker to this speaker and back. This is around the time when musicians were really starting to understand the effectiveness of repetition, of slowly layered repetition. And in a way, this almost seems like an idea kind of lifted from minimalist composers that were breaking out around the time, even though it's a very maximalist device. Like I'm thinking like like Terry Riley or Steve Reich, composers where they would like take one motif, repeat it again, like nonstop, and then add another that complements it, and start repeating, laying those two, like every few minutes, adding another layer, and then two motifs, like interlocking, repeating over and over again, and then add a third, interlocking, with those three repeating again, add a fourth, and then as the minutes advance, and then suddenly, like within the span of like 12 to 20 minutes, it builds up into all these layers, like, stacked on to one another, just, and it's a device that rock and soul acts were also starting to appropriate around this time. To just dynamic results. That guitar sound is just really like emanating from that speaker now, just like electricity, just electrical charge. This really icy organ is coming out of the speaker, just like struggling to get out. It's like it comes, it ruptures, it breaks up, it reasserts. I could just imagine these musicians having such a good time getting really into this whole like ongoing groove, watching it build, watching it just rise in volume and intensity and fast that's getting now. It's really like rising up like the waves of organ are getting much larger here, much like more powerful, while that guitarist is just like hanging on to a single note now and just. You get the feeling like after this that Isaac Hayes has gotten over his subject much more. That he's much more like above his own emotional disposition, or he's risen above it at this point. This version is not like the heartbreak, mournful tone that we got in the Dionne Warwick version. Two very different emotional effects that these two versions of the song have. Like Isaac Hayes is moving on and is kind of, waltzing out on his own, like high-minded and ready to move forward from the love, from the subject, Yeah, just taking it out. Yeah, just completely letting it almost like devolve. The instrumental just kind of climaxes. It slowly works its way to this ultimate like outpouring of sonic waves and electrical charge and then just kind of breaks up in some beats that just kind of petter out toward the end. Like letting us completely forget about the lyrics, the subject, the whatever sorrow, or emotional trauma that may have initially brought us into this. Very different effect. Yeah, Isaac Hayes, a man of the turn of the '70s. Moving on and not letting romantic disappointments get the better of him. Either on the inside or on the outside, And anyway, yeah, Isaac Hayes, one of the instigators of maximalist, lavish soul, taking soul into the '70s, experimental, sonic experimentation and such. Anyway, the track Walk On By Bacharach and David had yet another iteration in the late '70s when it was covered yet again by English psychedelic new wave art rockers, the Stranglers. Between the release of their second and third album, they put this song out on a single and they transformed it once again to a 6-minute kind of psych rock organ-dominated workout. And we are going to hear it right now. This is the Stranglers with their take on Walk On By. Now, so far, we can't really tell that it's the Dionne Warwick song, but we can definitely tell what band this is. I mean, because anyone familiar with the Stranglers know their trademarks, of the early Stranglers anyway, that thick, like, guttural bass tone, and those, like, swirling organs of Dave Greenfield. Yeah, unmistakably the Stranglers.
If you see me walking down the streets and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. I walk on by. I make believe that I can't see the tears that let me breathe. I'm private, 'cause each time I see you, I just wanna cry.
already, once the vocals began, once Hugh Cornwell started bellowing out the opening line, "If you see me walking down the street," we instantly knew, we can now tell what song this is. And they are being pretty faithful to the structure of the song, even though the arrangement is worlds apart from either of the last two versions we heard. We're getting much more of a door. Now, the Stranglers early on were often compared to the Doors musically. A comparison that was both obvious and yet erroneous. Obvious because the organ work somewhat resembled, like on this track, but not always. Dave Greenfield was a very experimental keyboardist. Many of like the sounds, like on the second album in particular, which had already come out, No More Heroes, featured a lot of like thin, colorful, luminous tones that would be very influential on like 80s modern rock, but not many people were doing in 1977. And Ray Manzanera could have never have done, because the keyboards did not exist during the Doors time. It was also, the comparison was also erroneous because the Stranglers used bass kind of as the rhythm, as the bass would assume the role of like rhythm guitarist and sometimes lead guitarist, and whereas the Doors didn't even have a bassist. The guitarist would like double up on, would like use bass pedals. I think maybe they took like a string out and like used lower notes for bass and lower strings for bass and upper strings for guitar, and kind of had more that thin. When it came to the stringed instrument, they tended to have that thinner sound. And whereas in the Stranglers, Hugh Cornwell would basically use his guitar to play shards rather than chords or solos, like sonic shards a la Brian Eno. It's almost like he was channeling the approach of like, he was simultaneously channeling Phil Manzanera and Brian Eno in his guitar work, which was more expressionistic than musical. Whereas J.J. Burnell and Dave Greenfield were the two real like musical aspects of the band's sound, like playing like interlocking counter or like arpeggios or counterpoint. Yeah. But this song, however, this particular arrangement happens to be one of their more Doors-like arrangements of anything they did. This is one of the few songs where the Doors comparison is actually somewhat valid.
Just can't get over losing you. I'm so fussy, so broken in pieces. Walk on by.
He's being kind of flippant in his take on these lyrics. It's like he's just kind of brushing the whole thing off. It's almost like he's putting on an act for the woman. He's trying to make her think that she's got him down, because it seems like the lyrics have always implied that the other person, the subject, is who initiated the breakup. And like the person is like at the receiving end of, the narrator is at the receiving end. But Hugh Cornwell is just laughing the whole thing off here.
Foolish pride, if I can't see the tears, then let me hide all the tears of the sadness you get here when you say goodbye.
He throws that line in, "Just go for a stroll in the trees," as if he's really just doesn't care. Like, or maybe he does care. Maybe he is hurting inside, but he thinks that if he just tries to write it out with flippancy, he can fall out of love with her faster. Hear that bass line that's playing a recurring figure? It just will not let up for quite a while here. It really lays the foundation for some really great soloing by David Greenfield here. And notice the fuzzy tone of that bass too. It's this really thick slabs. Like it sounds like J.J. Burnell was like playing like bass strings like about this thick or something. Like through a Marshall amp or something. And now I'm hearing, I guess, Hugh Cornwell in some rare chordal moments. He doesn't play a lot of chords usually. He's more of just kind of a fiddly, expressionistic guy. But I'm hearing him kind of under there doing some guttural tones as JJ's starting to get a little bit more fluid and kind of work the way around, playing some scales around this key center. Hear David Greenfield just work his way up and down the scale, just in that really thin, kind of almost quiet mute tone. We're about to hear more of him, though, I think. Hear that intensity building up. Now he's going like up and down like the keyboard. And the sound and the keyboard tone is taking on that more icy tone. I gotta say, Hugh Cornwell does have a very unique guitar tone around this time. Like, I instantly recognize that as the same tone heard on Princess of the Street during the solos in that number. It's sort of a ghostly tone. There aren't many songs I can think of where Hugh kind of does more defined scales, like around a bass ostinato by JJ. Another reason why I think that the Doors comparison is actually valid on this particular track is that this instrumental break, and particularly this part, reminds me a lot of the instrumental section of Light My Fire. It's almost like they kind of like imported some ideas of Light My Fire into a cover of the Dionne Warwick song. We're getting to the climax now. Jet Black is starting to really rev it up more. Interesting, like symbol where he's seeing that the part of the bar where he's seeing that symbol. It's like he's seeing it like on the third. The hi-hat, I mean, like. There you have it. Walk On By the Stranglers, the third major cover of the David Burt Bacharach song, originally performed by Dionne Warwick. Three very different versions of this classic song. The 1964 original by Dionne Warwick, the 1969 extended version by Isaac Hayes, and the 1978 version by the Stranglers. For more Rubies and Sapphires by the artists in question, for the Dionne Warwick album, you can check the 1964 list. For Isaac Hayes, check the directory of albums by American Soul Acts, listed in the links below. And for the Stranglers, check the directory of albums by English S artists in the links below. And follow me on social media to know when the next videos are coming out. And until next time, this is Aragon, the world's most air travel trimaximalist, signing off.